You know, when you picture Antarctica, you probably think of this silent, frozen, untouched wasteland, right? Well, forget that picture. We need to talk about Antarctica as a continent in crisis, a place that is literally, right now, breaking apart at the seams, and the consequences could affect every single one of us. Okay, let's get into it.
So, the big question is, what on earth is going on down there? And this isn't some slow geological thing that takes millions of years. No, these changes are happening fast, like within our lifetimes. And scientists are absolutely scrambling to figure out why this frozen giant is suddenly becoming so incredibly fragile.
And really, this whole story kicks off with a crack. It even has a name, Chasm 1. But this wasn't just some fissure in the ice. This was a continental tear, a wound so massive that it ripped a huge chunk of ice clean off the mainland. And believe me, that was just the first warning shot.
So that brings us to our first section. See, Chasm 1 wasn't some freak one-off event. In just the last few years, it's been one massive crack after another. It's almost like the entire continent is waking up and shattering.
Now, why should you care about some ice cracking thousands of miles away? Well, get this. Antarctica holds 70% of our planet's fresh water. I mean, think about that. It's all locked away in that ice. So when it melts, it's not just about sea levels rising. You're pouring a huge amount of fresh water into the salty oceans, which can completely mess with global currents and weather patterns. The stakes, honestly, couldn't be higher.
To really understand the danger we're in now, we have to take a quick look at the past. Because long before we were worried about Antarctica melting, it was humanity's deadliest frontier, a place that explorers fought and very often died just trying to reach.
For literally centuries, it was just an idea, this unknown southern land. It took until 1911 for humans to finally set foot on its heart, the South Pole. And that was after this brutal, famous race between Roald Amundsen and Robert Scott. It ended in victory for Amundsen and a frozen death for Scott and his men. They died on the journey back, their bodies becoming a grim testament to just how unforgiving that continent is.
And this little chart here really shows you why Antarctica was so lethal. You see, the Arctic up north is basically a frozen ocean, but the South Pole, it sits on a massive continent of solid rock, buried under 90% of all the ice on Earth. It's higher, it's colder, and it's just way more brutal than the North. There's not even a single native land mammal there. Nothing can survive the deep interior.
Let's just try to wrap our heads around these conditions for a second. Temperatures can drop to minus 90 degrees Celsius. That is so cold that any bit of exposed skin will freeze solid in just a couple of minutes.
Okay, and then, on top of the cold, you've got the wind. And we're not talking about a little breeze here. We're talking about constant, hurricane-force winds that can hit 300 kilometers per hour. These are winds that can literally pick you up off your feet.
And this is the part that just sounds alien. The humidity is less than 1%, which makes the air there drier than the Sahara Desert. That dry air just sucks moisture right out of your body, so you're dealing with dehydration and frostbite at the same time.
So for most of human history, that's what Antarctica was. It was a place people went to, but often didn't come back from. Countless explorers were just lost, their bodies swallowed by the ice, never ever to be seen again. A true frozen graveyard.
But here's the twist. While the early explorers were fighting against the cold, today we're facing a totally new threat that's born from warming. The danger isn't just about freezing anymore, it's about melting. And there's one glacier in particular that has scientists absolutely terrified.
Everybody meet the Thwaites Glacier. Yeah, its nickname is the Doomsday Glacier. And I know that sounds dramatic, but it has earned that name. It's basically the single most vulnerable and important block of ice on the entire planet. See, the problem is, warm ocean water is getting underneath it, melting it from the bottom up. It's like the cork in a champagne bottle, holding back the entire West Antarctic ice sheet.
So what happens if that cork pops? If Thwaites collapses, scientists estimate it alone would raise global sea levels by 65 centimeters. That's over 2 feet. Now, to put that in perspective for you, a sea level rise of just 15 centimeters, that's about 6 inches, is already causing constant flooding in coastal cities in the US. A 65-centimeter rise would be a global catastrophe.
And look, this isn't some abstract problem for a far-off future. This is a direct danger to hundreds of millions of people who are alive right now. We're talking about huge population centers in Japan, Bangladesh,
China, parts of India. I mean, entire cities, coastal towns, and island nations all around the world are at risk of just being submerged.
And what really makes this so urgent is just the sheer speed of the collapse. On other nearby glaciers that are also getting weaker, scientists have actually clocked cracks spreading at 130 kilometers an hour. Just think about that for a second. A fracture in the foundation of the world opening up at the same speed as a car driving down the highway.
So, what are we doing about it? That brings us to our final section. Because in the face of this massive global threat, Antarctica is actually governed like no other place on Earth. It's treated as a continent for all of us.
It's all because of this thing called the Antarctic Treaty, signed back in 1959, and it is a truly remarkable agreement. It completely bans any military activity, it dedicates the whole continent to shared science, it says no country can own it, and, this is the big one, it prohibits any mining or oil drilling. It's a continent set aside just for peace and science.
And the rules to protect this place are unbelievably strict, even for the handful of scientists and tourists who go there. You have to sterilize all your gear so you don't bring in foreign microbes. You have to pack out every single thing you bring in, and I mean everything. Not even urine can be left behind. And the vast interior is almost totally off limits.
And there is a really chilling reason for all this caution. As that ancient ice starts to thaw, it's not just releasing water. It's uncovering ancient microbes, pathogens that have been dormant, frozen for thousands, maybe millions of years. Some scientists actually call them zombie viruses, because these are things our modern immune systems have never, ever seen before. It's a completely unknown biological threat emerging from a deep freeze.
Ultimately, Antarctica forces us to face a pretty fundamental truth. It's a place of incredible power that does not care about human plans. It's a test, not of our ability to conquer it, but of our humility. This simple phrase really says it all. We're just guests here. The only question left is, will we be good ones?